When finding the mean and median of a data set or of a set of numbers, it's important to understand what each of these terms mean. The term mean refers to the average of all of these numbers. So what we end up doing is adding up all of these numbers that we're given, and we end up dividing that value by the amount of numbers that we actually have. Median, on the other hand, refers to finding which one of these numbers lies in the middle of the other numbers in chronological order. So we're not allowed to just look at these numbers and assume that 4, because it's in the middle, that's going to be our answer. That's not correct. What we need to do first is rearrange these numbers so that they are written in chronological order. So the numbers have to be written from least to greatest. Before I continue, I do want to point out that this topic does allow you and encourages you to use a calculator. Usually it's offered on the right hand side of the screen, but right now you can't really see it. But just know that I am going to be using a calculator for the rest of these problems. So to find the mean of the problem, I'm going to take all of these numbers and add them together. So I'm literally going to take 8, I'm going to add it to 15, add it to 7, add it to 4, add it to 3, add it to 8, and add it to 12. I could have written this from top to bottom, but since we're using a calculator, you could just write it out like this. And when we add them together, we end up getting 57. So that's not the answer, but it is half of the steps that we need to do to find the mean. Now the next thing we do is we take that total, we take that 57, and we divide it by the amount of numbers that we actually have. So if we count how many values we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have 7 numbers, so we're going to divide 57 by 7. And again, using a calculator, we end up getting 8.1428 with more numbers after the 8. Instead of typing in all of these numbers for our answer, we do need to round it because that's what the problem tells us to do. It wants us to round to the nearest tenth. So if I look at my tenths place, it's actually this 1. That 1 might change. It depends on the number after it, which in this case is a 4. If we had a number 5 or greater, then our 1 would go up to a 2. But because it's less than 5, because we have a 4, that number 1 is going to stay a 1. It's not going to change. But everything else will become 0. So our answer would end up being 8.10 or just 8.1. Which is what I would type as my answer. So that's my mean. Now we need to find the median. So to find the median, it's important to rearrange our numbers first. So I'm going to take all of my numbers and I'm going to rewrite them from least to greatest. So I'm going to start off with my lower values, which is 3, then go to 4, and I'm just crossing them out so that I keep track of which ones I used up. After the 4, there's a 7, then there's an 8, then there's another 8, and then we have 12 and 15. So we've rearranged all of our numbers. So to find the median, we are going to look for the number in the center. But the way I would do that is by crossing out a low number and a high number, a low number and a high number, a low number and a high number. This leaves us with the number 8, and that would be our actual median for this problem. So for this problem, we're asked to find a median first. So we're not finding the average to begin with. First, we're going to find the median. To do that, we need to rearrange our numbers from least to greatest. So if I rewrite these numbers, we have a 5, we have a 9, we have an 11, a 13, and a 14. So I've rewritten all of my numbers. And now I simply need to look for the number that's in the middle. So even though I can just point it out, I'm going to cross out a lower number, a higher number, a lower number, a higher number, and it'll leave me with an 11 in the middle. So our median is an 11. Now we need to find the mean. So to find our mean, we're going to take all of our numbers and find the average of them, which means we add them together first. So we're going to take 9, add it to 14, add it to 5, add it to 13, and add it to 11. When I do that on the calculator, I end up getting the number 52. So the sum of our numbers is 52, but now we need to divide it by the amount of values that we have to find the average. So how many values do I actually have, or how many numbers do I have? I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is also given in the word problem, but I always like to double check by counting our numbers. So we're going to take 52 and divide it by 5. If I use a calculator to do that, 52 divided by 5 ends up giving me 10.4. Now this is the average or the mean for the problem. The problem does tell us to round to the nearest tenth, but we already have a tenth place and nothing else after it. So we're going to leave our answer alone, and my final answer will be 10.4. So this problem asks me to find the median first. So I'm going to go through my numbers and rearrange them. I'm going to rearrange them from least to greatest. So we have 5, 6, 12. Actually, there's a 10 that comes before the 12. So we have 10 and 12. Then we have a 14 and a 20. So those are my set of numbers. Now I need to find the number that's in the middle. So I'm going to cross out a lowest number, a highest number, a lowest number, a highest number. So normally we would cross out a low number and a high number and look for the number in the middle. But the problem is there is no number in the middle. Instead, we're left with these two values, a 10 and a 12. So what I need to do is actually find the average between 10 and 12. Now to find the average, we literally take 10 and add it to 12. That would give us 22. But now we take that number, the 22, and we divide it by 2. We split it in half. When I do that, I end up with an 11, which ends up being my answer. So the median for the problem is 11, and all we did is we found the average of the two numbers that were in the middle. Now to find the mean, we need to go back and look at these numbers, add them together, and divide them by 6 because we have 6 different numbers. So to find the median, we take 5, added to 12, added to 6, added to 20, plus 10, plus 14. We put that in the calculator, we end up getting 67. So that's our sum, but to find the average, we take 67 and we divide it by the amount of values that we have. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so we're dividing this by 6. 67 divided by 6 ends up giving me 11.1666, and it keeps going on and on. To find my final answer, I do need to round to the nearest tenth. So my tenth place is this 1 after the decimal, and to round to this place value, we need to look at the number after it. Because we have a 6, that 6 is going to move this 1 up to a 2, and our rounded answer would end up being 11.2. This problem wants us to find the mean first, so they want us to find the average of these numbers. So we don't need to rearrange them yet. We can just add up 14 plus 20 plus 16 plus 9 plus 11 plus 11 plus 11 plus 19. When I add them all together, I end up getting the number 111. Now to find the actual average, I need to take that value and divide it by the amount of numbers that I have. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 numbers. So I'm going to divide this 111 by 8. And this will end up giving me 13.875, which according to the problem, I need to round to the nearest 10th place. The 10th place is this 8 because it comes after the decimal. And we circle this 7. That 7 will tell us whether this 8 will go up or whether the 8 will remain the same. Because it's a 7, it's going to move the 8 up and it's going to become a 9. So our rounded answer for our mean is 13.9. To find the median, we need to make sure that we rearrange these numbers from least to greatest. So if I do that, we have a 9, an 11, an 11, another 11. Then we have 14, 16, 19, and 20. To find the median, we're going to narrow our numbers down towards the center. So we have a low number, a high number, a low number, a high number, low, high. And then we end up having two numbers at the very center of this list. We have an 11 and a 14. So what I want to do is find the average between those numbers. To find the average, we add them together. And this ends up giving me 25. Then I take that 25 and I divide it by 2 because there's two numbers that we're dealing with. 25 divided by 2 ends up giving me 12.5. This answer already has a tens place and no number after that, so we don't need to round it. Our final answer will just be this 12.5.